Welcome to Psychic Holistic Spotlight of Rhode Island. I'm Kathy, your host for today. We also have Josie Way and Ken Demers here co-hosting. And our guest today is a longtime friend of mine. Her name is Jody Pinard. She's a psychic medium. She's very good at what she does. She's been doing this a while, a long time, I believe. So we go way back though, like I don't even remember how we even met, but I think it was one of the spiritualist churches though somehow. And so, you know, she reads cards though, she's a medium though. She has appointments all the time though. She's very busy at what she does. So Jody, let's talk about how you got started with the psychic medium stuff and how you got interested in this and how did you learn to do this?
Oh, well, that's a lot of information.
It is.
Honestly, when I was a little girl,
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those children who saw spirit.
Okay.
So I've always had a belief because I knew, you had that knowing. I come from a lineage of mediums.
Okay.
My mother, when I used to tell my mother stories about the people that I saw in the house, she always believed me, never questioned me,
Mm-hmm.
and she would kind of just encourage me to talk about it. So as I got older, you forget. Just one day, you just forget, and it goes away for a little while. When I was in my 30s, I got interested in yoga and Reiki.
Yeah.
I owned a yoga studio for a little while. And during that time, when you're sitting and they talk about, the yogis say, oh, you enter samadhi.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go into meditation and I thought I was in samadhi. Mm-hmm. But I was actually with my guides.
Oh, okay.
And that's how I reconnected with my main guide.
Okay.
I would just be with him. And then from there, it kind of progressed.
Okay. So the mediumship kept first, and then that's how you got into the cards as well, too, for the psychic part?
Well, when I had the yoga studio, Ron O'Berry was good friends with my cousin Judy, who's also a psychic medium.
Okay.
And Ron came to the studio a few times, and we started, that's how I got back into the mediumship portion and started taking mediumship classes. And then, I'm pretty sure I had my first tarot deck when I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
Your first what?
Tarot deck, it's a
okay.
card deck.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I bought it at Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah, really, that's interesting. That is interesting.
So I've always played with the cards, been very interested in, all things metaphysical. But I started reading cards again when I owned my yoga studio.
Okay. Do you still own the yoga studio?
I closed the yoga studio, I think, in 2012.
Okay. So it's been a while.
Yes. I had planned to relocate the studio, but then
That just didn't happen, yeah.
it just didn't happen. But I continued on taking, really developing. I think it was kind of the gateway to get me into studying mediumship, because really that's my passion. Yeah.
So, because I lost my train of thought for a moment. So, do you have your own office though for the mediumship, or do you travel to people, or do you do it through video?
I offer in-person readings at my licensed home office in Dartmouth.
Okay.
I have worked at Open Door Studio, which is a metaphysical shop in Braintree.
Okay.
I've worked at Uplifting Connections in Bridgewater.
Okay.
I just prefer to work for myself.
Yeah.
I like being able to, not be on a time schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone comes for like a mediumship communication, if you're working for a metaphysical shop, you're on a time clock.
Yeah.
And how do you cut somebody when they're in the midst of grief? Mm-hmm. So working for myself offers me the opportunity, if a client needs more time, without having to worry about them reimbursing me monetarily because I'm working for a metaphysical place.
Yeah.
So I prefer to work at home. It gives me more freedom.
Yeah, it allows you that time so you're not so rushed. Yeah. Yeah, so it works out better for you, that's for sure. So Do you work at any psychic fairs currently though, or do you just do just out of your office?
I do work for a few psychic fairs. I'm passionate about fundraising. When I owned my yoga studio, I did a lot of fundraisers for animal shelters, animal rescues. So I like to do the church psychic fairs, or the fire barn in Attleboro. I like to do certain fairs. If it's a fundraising event, that's something that I like to do.
Okay.
I offer fundraisers. Every month I have a fundraiser for the animal shelters, animal rescues, various ones, from my home office.
Oh, okay.
So I'll have a day where people will come in, and either they make a donation to the animal rescue in advance and show me a receipt, or they'll come in, they'll bring dog food or cat food, or they'll pay $25. And whatever is collected goes directly to
So all those proceeds go to them.
the animal rescues, yes.
What is your favorite reading that you've ever given somebody?
My favorite reading was for a mother. She came in to a shop I was working at, and it was her daughter's birthday. And her daughter had passed when she was 11.
Oh, so the daughter was passed over, okay.
And that was my favorite reading I've ever done.
Because you connected the daughter to the mother, basically?
Honestly, it was so beautiful and it was so healing. It touched me.
I'm sure it touched the mother also.
Yes.
Yeah, it's tough to lose a child though.
I've
so to have
witnessed
that
a couple of them where, I can't remember the name, a married couple there, they were both mediums, and they had brought a young boy whose father had died like 3 or 4 days before, and the father came in to tell the son that he was going to stay with him and stuff, and it was really emotional, at least for me.
Yeah, that's a tough one. So that was for the mother though, that was sitting there, or the father was still alive?
The father had died, and we've had them here as guests. I can't remember the names, but they were just friends of this boy or the father or whatever. So they brought him, and I can't remember who the medium was, but the medium, Oceana, and she connected to the boy's father. And there was a 20-minute give and take between them or something like that, but it was very, very emotional, yes. I can understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I've witnessed 2 of them, and it's significant.
So those are the toughest ones though, when someone loses a parent or a child, that close connection there though. It's tough. Yeah. So that's what I find a lot though too, though, especially when the child is sick and they pass though, and the parents have a hard time, you don't really get over a loss. I know that. You don't really get over it. You just learn to somewhat move on with it. So I find that that's very hard though. It's like when someone loses somebody so close to them like that though. It's just very, very difficult for that though. So.
Well, as mediums, this is something that
happens.
Yes, it happens on a regular basis, but there's just those certain readings that there's something that just touches your heart on such a level that you just don't forget.
Yeah, that love though, those definitely what starts it all. So it's just like when you say that one thing, it's like, that's how the client knows that it's definitely that person that's coming through. That one little thing that makes absolutely no sense to you. Which is like, you don't have to give it because you keep hearing it like 10 times. It's like, okay, I just got to give this. Makes no sense at all. But, I love it when it actually clicks though with the client though. It's like, oh, yep, this is definitely the person, And I know for some of mine though, like sometimes the clients will come in with something that belong to the person, and you can get the reading off of that way though too, though, because sometimes, they don't come in on their own by themselves. Sometimes a little bit of help that they need that though, the spirit,
I have
especially
a
if it's a new
question for you.
passing.
This mother-daughter thing. The daughter had died at 11, and I'm assuming that this was many years later?
Many years later, yes.
was the daughter coming through as an 11-year-old, or had she also progressed with the years into an adult?
Well, the way that the daughter came through for me was at the age that she had passed.
At 11 years old?
Yes.
Do you find that to be normal, or is that the abnormal thing?
When it's a child, for me, I know every medium is different. For me, it's always the age that they passed.
Okay.
For a child. For an adult, sometimes a grandmother may appear in her younger years,
yeah.
but she'll give evidence as she aged. But for a child, it's, from me, my experience, it's always been that age that they passed.
Okay.
Yeah, with me though, like they were coming at that age, but sometimes they would tell me that, yeah, they've grown up some on that side though too. But they were coming at that age though, so the parent can recognize
That was my
them.
question.
Yeah.
You know, well, my
Yeah.
understanding is that people on the other side will, if they're younger, they will age through to an adult.
Yeah, that's my experience. But they've always come in at that age or that they died from, so the parent knows that, you know, it's their
So
child.
there's an easier connection.
Yeah, yeah. So they come in at what's easiest for the client to accept who that is. That I find.
Well, if you listen to Gordon Higginson, which is, for me, that's the greatest medium.
Who?
There's a medium, Gordon Higginson,
English?
English, yes. And if you listen to Gordon talk about these, you know, kind of questions, he'll say that the child will come in a way that the parents can recognize. So for a mother who celebrates the birthday every year and she's imagining what the child would be like at that age, then they may come in at that age. But if she's still remembering the child at the age that they passed, they'll come in at that age. So it's what the parents can recognize the most is how they present.
Yeah, I find that though too with the angels though too though, they will come to us though the way we were taught that they will look like. You know, it's like I know everyone has a different belief system when they were growing up though, so the angels will come in to that belief. So, you know, the person would know that it's like, oh, okay, that's what this is. You know, it's like the angels don't really have wings, but if you get taught that they have wings, or they're going to come through with wings.
Yes.
You know, so that's what I find, you know, like just amazing though. You know, to me with the angels, they come in like, you know, really huge and with like these massive wings. But that's what I was taught that they would look like. So that's how they come to me like that, you know, for that presence. So same thing though with the souls of the human souls when they come through.
Yeah.
Curious,
Interesting.
isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah, they come to us in a way that we recognize them to be, which I find absolutely amazing. Yeah.
2 days ago, I was sitting at a little pondside house that I own down in Connecticut, and I was thinking of April Sharon, the medium, and as I'm standing up to leave, I look on the ground, there's 5 feathers there. So I pick the feathers up and I'm looking at them, and as I'm looking at the feathers, a turtle comes walking up to me. Now,
You're getting messages.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means, but it was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, the feathers and the wings, the whole bit, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, they come to us in a way that we recognize them to be.
If you really want to take a reading on it, you would have to know what direction the turtle was walking, in north, south, east, or west.
He was going
You know, it's
northwest.
okay.
He was
So
walking towards me.
that the situation is mental and a little bit emotional. The situation that they were referring to.
I don't know. I mean,
So, you know, what I find interesting though too though, like, you know, talking about the signs though, you know, from spirit, you know, you usually get the pennies from heaven. I've actually had one client say though, I always get these dimes.
That's what I get. Dimes.
Yeah. So, but it was interesting though, because there's a young lady that had lost her, I believe it was her mother. They were very, very close, like 2 peas in a pod kind of thing. And you know, I was reading though for the daughter that the mother was coming through, and there was something like about like I just keep seeing dimes everywhere, and she had to laugh though because she's like, oh, my mother always told me that you get dimes from heaven. I'm like, oh, but the saying is usually pennies from heaven. So it was like she just had to laugh, so she knew that was her mother though at that point though. It's like, seeing it was the dimes from heaven instead of pennies.
Never heard of that one.
Yes.
It doesn't come in often though, but it's, I guess people have this twist on stuff. It's like, just watch for the dimes, instead of the pennies.
You know it's definitely from the person that you lost.
Yeah, especially when it's like something that, like, I don't want to say odd, but that unusual. Something that very particular though.
So my father had a coin collection, and when he passed, my mother passed out some of the coin collection to the family, and I got a dime.
Huh.
That was,
That's so interesting.
like in the little case. And ever since then, my father he always sends me dimes. It's always dimes.
Yeah, that's interesting though.
Yes.
Do you know if the family though gets the kind of coins that they received from the coin collection? Do you know?
I don't know, but I should probably ask.
Yeah, because that'd be
Yeah.
interesting thing to find out for sure if they do it that way.
Yeah. I never thought to ask. But
Yeah.
But I will.
Yeah. So a lot of the readings that I find for the mediumship is, like a lot of times like, oh, are they okay? I get that a lot though, or like, the grandparents come through, and then sometimes I get the black and white photos, like I see a black and white photo on the wall. It's usually like, sometimes it's a great grandparent though, but sometimes it's the grandparents depending on how old the person is that's coming to me. So, sometimes I get, the pictures in my mind that way of like, okay, if you're not really sure which set of grandparents that's coming in, and what I find interesting too is that if the couple's been, like if the grandparents or the parents have been married for like 50, 60, 70 years, they always come in together as a couple for me.
Yes.
You find that too?
Yes, they'll
Yeah.
come as a couple.
Yeah. So that's how I know they've been married for so long. Though it's like, well, this is how long they've been married. They're like, yeah, it makes sense to them because people don't get married or don't stay married that long anymore. So I think that's why they make that point. So I find that interesting. So yeah.
Yeah, they'll come in and then one will take their turn, and then
Yeah.
you always know who was the talker because that will be the first one.
The first one, yes, every time, every time.
Yes.
What is the most ancient individual that's ever come in for you?
Ancient
Going
individual.
like
And,
thousands of years ago, that type of person.
for
or
a
10,000
client
years.
or for myself?
I don't, in general, for anybody, for you, for yourself, for whoever, what would be I've had people come in there 40,000 years ago that I was connected to, and I found that was interesting. And then I met other ones, my original father, which was a very, 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 very long time ago.
And well, for ancestors, I've had readings that have been given to me about ancestors that were fishermen, but I have no information, so I don't know much about them. For me, doing a reading and bringing someone in, I'd have to say it would probably have been my own guides that have been.
And what kind of age would you put on them?
Well, I know that I have one guide, but I wouldn't really put an age on him. Because this is what I've been taught about guides, and this is my belief.
Okay.
I believe that our guides present themselves in a way that will resonate with us, but it's not actually who they may be in at the current time. They may have had a past life, or just is something that I'm going to resonate with. My main guide is a monk, a Franciscan monk, which resonates with me. I have an Asian lady who I believe is an alchemist. But that tradition and the lifestyle resonates with me.
An alchemist?
Yes.
Yeah, they change things.
So they work with your energy. And
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm thinking of mixing chemicals together, and
Well,
I wasn't thinking in
no,
terms of energy.
spiritual alchemy.
Oh, well,
Yes.
that
So
was the other kind.
in my belief, my guide may not, I know I have an English guide, so I know I have different guides, but I know they present in a way that I can accept them best.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily believe
They
that-
might have been around a long time before that, but that's not how they're showing themselves to you.
Yes, they show themselves to me in a way that I can be comfortable and
Relate to.
relate to and build that relationship.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see them. I do have one guy that I've had since the beginning, and he presented himself as like a knight, but he's not a knight. But that's how I first met him. And I know that his name is Francois.
Is what?
His name is Francois.
Francois. Okay.
At least that's the name he gave me. And I know that he is somebody who protects and oversees me when I'm doing my spiritual work. But is he?
That would be why
actually a
he
knight?
presented as a knight.
Yes. So is he really, was he ever a knight? I don't know, but that's how he presented himself.
It's the image that you could relate to that was important.
Yes. So in my feeling, in the way that I've been taught by my teachers, and my belief is, unless it's a bloodline ancestor that you can go back to and, you know, kind of trace, my guides, I just accept them as they come in, and I'm happy that they're there.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So the oldest for me, though, is like, you know, as far as a client coming in, is like their great grandparents. That's as far as back as, you know, it's like, because I always ask, though, like, okay, how have the clients recognize who comes in? You know, so sometimes my clients don't recognize. I'm like, well, ask them the family, though, you know. So it's like, I know what the intention. At least they'll be able to have some kind of reference, you know, for that, though. So it's like, I always find that interesting.
Yes, when
Yeah.
it's too far back, you know,
They
most
don't know,
people
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
So great-grandparents, yes,
Yeah.
common. Any further than that, rarely, occasionally, but not often.
Yeah. I know my main guy, though, he's pretty old, though. He had at least, I want to say it was like 500 years ago. He walked on the planet. But I know that's not too long, though, considering how, like, thousands of years. But, you know, he used to live in Peru. So it's like, oh, that's not like this continent. But that happens, though. You know, they find who they need to work with, though. So I find that interesting, though. Yeah.
Or you might have been their child back then.
That is a possibility. Yeah, that is very, very
You were a
possible.
child of theirs in Peru.
Oh, well, that would make sense, though. Because he's been coming in very strong lately, though. I know what he's trying to help me with, though. But, yeah, he's been very strong, though, lately, though, with things. Yeah, I've been trying to give release a lot of stuff. But that's off topic. Definitely off topic.
I've had people come in for me, through people like you, who were my brother in past lifetimes.
Oh, well, past lifetimes, yes.
Yes, that's
That's a different,
Yeah.
for me, that's a different reading.
Yeah,
I mean,
mediumship,
Yeah.
it's usually a loved one
A
coming
loved
through.
one, yeah.
That's coming through.
But, you know, no connection in this one, but in the past, there was a close connection.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, in Akashic Records, because I also do Akashic Records, and
That's
then,
really neat.
yes, and then we would see past lives, you know, that kind of a thing, and then could go into a past life in a normal mediumship communication.
Yeah, it's a different focus.
People want to hear from someone because they're coming to you for a reason. They're in grief. There's somebody they miss. There's somebody they want to talk to. So you always just set the intention and the invite that that loved one, of course we can't guarantee it. They want that loved one, so we set that intention that they come. And they might not be the first or second person. Sometimes they're the third person
Yeah.
that comes through. But they're always there. But they have, you know, they want to hear from a specific person majority of the time. And that wouldn't necessarily be somebody from a past
So that would be
life
more
or-
current.
It'd be
is
more
my-
current, yes. But-
So, excuse me for interrupting, just, we have only a few minutes of the show, so if somebody has a question for you, though, do you have a phone number or an email you can share so they can get a hold of you?
Yes, so my website is jodypinard.com, which is my name, JODYPINARD.com, and that's primarily
How
my
can we get a hold of
contact
you? Okay.
information.
All right, so just get back, though. I've also had readings where, you know, someone was like a nurse, you know, in a hospital or like, you know, or PCA type work where they would go to the person's home, though, that like those actively dying, and, you know, or a nursing home, and sometimes though those clients would come through, you know, and you know, sometimes or like the client can't always place who they are. I'm like, well, were you like a nurse or like working in a nursing home or something like that though? Because this person knew you and they're insisting that they knew you. They were very insistent on that, you know, and then sometimes it just takes a minute. It's like, oh yes, now I know who this is. You know, it's like, has that happened with you as well?
It has happened. I actually worked in a nursing home.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, right?
So I actually, if somebody comes in and their loved ones say had dementia, because I have experience with that, a lot of times they'll come through. But if they're a nurse or if they were a care worker, I get messages from residents, from other mediums. So
Yeah.
they come through and they say thank you for the care that I provided them. So that will definitely, if there's a connection of love, you know, they'll come through. And a lot of times they just want to say thank you, and there's always a message of encouragement. Don't
Yeah.
you find that?
Yes.
There's always
Yeah,
some kind of a
so
message of encouragement.
Yeah, so especially in the times of need, though, they're going through some struggles, though, which we all do at one point or another. Some of them is just kind of tough. And it's always like, well, you got this, just be patient, though, you'll get through this, though. And they always give the sigh of, like, relief. It's like, oh, thank goodness, though. You know, so I get a lot of that, though, too, though. And, like, sometimes with the messages, though, it's like, oh, well, I've been thinking about doing that anyway. I'm like, well, this is just a sign. You know, they're just encouraging you to do that direction. Like, you know, like someone might be thinking about going back to school or moving, you know, which is a lot, like, a couple of big things in people's lives, though. It's like, you know, where you live, though, what you're going to do for your next career. So sometimes, though, it's with clients, so they're in the completely wrong field for them. You know, and like, this isn't working for you, though. You need to change, or this is why you get frustrated every day when you leave at 5 o'clock. You know, so you find that a lot, though, too, with you?
I find that when clients come in, a lot of times they want to know that their loved ones know what's going in their life right now.
I find that, too, yeah.
So they'll want that confirmation and that guidance from their loved one to say, okay, oh, you know that I'm going through that. Oh, this is what I should do. But a lot of times when spirit comes in, the message is always within the evidence that they provide. You know, so if somebody's struggling with their job, their grandfather might come in talking about his work and the struggles he had at his work, and you know there's a message for the grandchild. Okay, well, you're having struggles at work, and you know maybe
we should try it differently, though, to deal with it, or just find another location altogether.
Yes, there's always a message in
Yeah,
there.
within it, yeah.
Yes, within it.
Sometimes they're a little sneaky that way, though,
Yes.
Now,
but a good kind of sneaky.
the Akashic Records, they're more for people's curiosity?
The Akashic Records can help you to recognize obstacles that you've faced in past lives that you've carried on. It can really help you to recognize different. Sometimes we forget the essence of our own soul, but that never changes. We carry that through each life. So the Akashic Records can help you to recognize, you know, lessons that you're continuing to learn, but can also empower you to make certain changes, because it's like the cards when you're doing a card reading. It's a potential of what can happen. But with the knowledge of that potential of what can happen, you can help guide and shift. So some
Help people make better choices.
Yeah, and understanding what the lesson is, or it's like understanding why you're going through it.
No, the readings my hobby is to get readings of people, people that I don't know, preferably. And when I do the Akashic Records, they were always from a very long time ago. And it's not so much to do with now. It's like, yeah, you were with us doing this at that time.
Well, you're still doing the same things.
Kind of, but I've got 7 stationary planets, something like that, which is kind of abnormal.
So,
So what's your website again, though? We're just about out of time,
Okay.
though. Then we'll go back into that.
it's jodypinard.com.
Okay, to get hold of you.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so it's interesting that you don't get the current life lessons, though, for the Akashic Records, though. So there must be something that you're not doing to wrap that up, I think.
Well, they keep telling me I'm supposed to be a teacher
So why aren't you teaching?
because I was shut down as a child, as an infant,